I'm very proud to be able to now introduce you to Dr. Kirsten Dunlop, the CEO of EIT Climate Kick. Kirsten has a very impressive career spanning, among others, academia, consulting, insurance, financial services, as well as strategy, innovation, and leadership. And this makes her very well suited to address the leadership challenges and opportunities of the multifaceted fashion industry. Welcome, Kirsten.
Thank you very, very much, Morten. It's a pleasure to be here. And hello, everybody. I am speaking to you today as a practitioner of climate innovation. I run an organization based in Europe, which is focused on incubating, developing, deploying into the market innovations that are useful for decarbonization and for climate adaptation and resilience. And we work with a number of industries on business model transformations that are intended to help those industries survive the onset of climate change. So what I wanted to focus on today to kick off, as it were, the whole set of reflections that you have and a rich menu of best case practices and examples and living examples, is to remind you as a practitioner, climate change is coming. Climate emergency responses are accelerating, and those are in regulation, they are in consumer responses, they are in intergenerational tensions and expectations. They're in the onset of stranding of assets, many of which are large organizations that simply haven't prepared in time. Textile manufacturing emissions are due to increase by 60% by 2030, which is around the same time that in reality we would need globally to completely decarbonize 2030, not 2050 or 2060. Because we are already at 1.5 degrees, unfortunately. We're already locked into that. Now, we know that that's not going to happen, but every year after 2030, we are eating into a future that is genuinely unlivable, not just unsustainable. So if you are the CEO of a successful global business in the textile industry, in fashion, in a very, very complex, rich global business, highly fragmented, what can you do? What should you do? As somebody who's working with businesses on a daily basis, my reflections and suggestions would be, think value at risk. Just 5 of the organizations on this channel are worth 180 billion in market cap. That is a very big stranded asset. Those are collectively huge stranded assets as businesses start to front into the effects of climate change, whether that's impacts on the availability of water, whether that's impacts on political willingness to cede availability of water, impacts on food system security and on the stability of our economies and markets, impacts of heat, of storms, and of a set of material regulatory changes beginning to come in very fast. So the importance here in how to engage with climate is think of possibility, not plausibility or probability. If it is possible that you are holding a business whose contribution to the problem here is significantly outweighing your contribution to the solution, and a business that is successful and therefore very, very hard to let go, then you need an approach to innovation that helps you prepare. It gives you options and gives you ways of building confidence for alternative business models that will be not only able to compete, but able to survive and able to contribute and build reputation and credibility in a world that increasingly starts to make judgments in terms of where you sit, on which side of history are you falling when it comes to solving for the greatest challenge that faces humanity. That means really thinking in terms of business model transformation, not innovation as a marginal effort, not innovation investing in startups, diversification of products and services. This is whole-scale business retransformation, renewal. And it requires a very different way of thinking about how to innovate. And in our experience, it means starting, first of all, with understanding the scale of the need and the challenge, thinking in terms of strategic risk, working back from the value at risk, working back from the assets, resources, capabilities you have, understanding where are they at risk when it comes to a set of possible futures related to climate change effects and to the responses, international, global, national and local, to climate change onset. Thinking in terms of a portfolio of innovations not one or two things that you could do, but multiple ways of thinking about how do you change dyes and chemicals? How do you change pollutions from the whole cloth treatment? How do you change fiber production? How do you change freshwater withdrawal? How do you change logistics and supply chain, go to market with consumers? How do you change consumer perceptions and engagement in waste and waste removal and waste treatment and waste tracking and provenance? It means taking a very much more systemic approach to the way in which you think about innovating at every single part of the business and working through radical collaborations with multiple possible organizations and partners. Could be startups, could be SMEs, could be individuals, could be communities, NGOs, and so on. It means thinking in terms of accelerated learning, using innovation in a very deliberate, very systematic, very systemic way through a portfolio approach to help you learn how and prepare the partnerships, the joint ventures, and the alliances you need, how to transform that core business model and its logistics and supply chain and its ecosystem of partners and suppliers. And ultimately, that comes down to redesigning value and redefining prosperity at the core of your business identity and business rationale, at the core of your notion of governance and leadership, and your sense of legacy for the future, as Morten referred to in his introduction. This is ultimately about remembering that the greatest risk to any CEO running a business in 2021 and looking forward into the next 10 years is not the risk of dramatic change, which there will be, it's the risk of attachment to the way you're doing business now, and the incredibly difficult challenge of letting go in time before it's too expensive, too late, and too punitive, and it's being done for you. My invitation is work with those of us who are in the market, seeking to support organizations by bringing in multiple points of innovation and transformation. Seek to understand the opportunity space here. It's absolutely vast. And think of it particularly in terms of the opportunity space in intergenerational relationships and the notion of legacy. Fashion stands for shaping the way we think about ourselves. The more that we dress ourselves in the way in which we mean to be, the more that we stand for something that we believe in. And that's an extraordinary power that you hold in this room. I wish you good luck and a wonderful set of conversations and the courage to act together. Thank you.